you're gonna look great. But if you wanna stay in shape, well, you better hit the GymWits.
That's right, man. Tell 'em.
Welcome to the GymWits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, a.k.a. Chef Sonic.
And I'm Tony Marinucci, a.k.a. I'm sorry, we already started laughing. We haven't even started the podcast yet. I'm Tips with Tony, your registered dietitian.
Well,
Let's do it again.
if you're wondering, that was good. We should have kept that. Fine.
We can keep it as like an outtake or something.
Okay, we'll keep it. As
I
an
get
outtake.
my giggle, like it's so bad, I get the giggles and they're contagious. Okay. Go ahead.
Welcome to the GymWits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
One more time. Tony was yawning.
Welcome to the GymWits podcast. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, a.k.a. Chef Sonic.
And I'm Tony Marinucci, a.k.a. Tips with Tony, your registered dietitian.
And we are the GymWits.
So we're doing another Skype session because it's another blizzard here in New York City. Even though it's spring, we're dealing with a blizzard.
Well, we should put blizzard in quotations because it's really not that bad outside. But like
right
everywhere,
now, it's terrible.
This
everywhere
is like the fourth time we've said that.
Yeah, it really is. Like, yeah, this isn't like people are gonna think that we've just been recording all these Blizzard episodes in the same day, but this really isn't. This is like the third or fourth straight week where we were supposed to get a blizzard and like all of our jobs closed and nothing came of it. So now we're doing another Skype call, so they're still gonna get this episode out, but yeah, no blizzard yet. So I'm a little disappointed.
That's not a real blizzard, but it's a blizzard for here.
I'll take the day off, or the day home early, I guess, but certainly is not a blizzard.
No, it's not a blizzard.
So what's been going on with you guys?
Well, I got to the gym today, and I expected nobody to be there on a snow day like this. But it was the most packed I have ever seen this gym.
Interesting.
I'll give you a quick anecdote from when I was training. So, you guys remember? I was probably like in the early mid 2000s. We did have like a massive blizzard where like things were just things were really shut down. I remember like waiting on the subway for like 45 minutes to get a train. So anyway, that day, so there was a gym I worked at, and I couldn't make it to that gym. It was a sports club LA, and it was open, and so only one trainer showed up. And that day, I think at the time was the busiest day they ever had. So in the middle of this massive blizzard, it was the busiest day as far as membership. And the one trainer that showed up that day got so much business because there were so many people who hadn't been to the gym in X amount of time and decided to show up that day that he actually went from being, average, below average business to like being the busiest trainer over the course of like, one snowy day.
That's crazy.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. I guess a lot of people couldn't make it into work.
Yeah.
Things were shut down.
They know they're
like,
going to be stuck inside all day. They may as well,
let's go to the gym. And
do something.
everyone was there. There was a class that was packed. Right? Granted, I guess it was a lot of it was seniors, so it was probably folks that might have been there anyway. But it was still, I was shocked. I expected no one to be there at 12 o'clock, but everyone was there.
But your gym is also like in a residential area. Like a lot of the people that go to your gym live on the block or within a block. So it would make sense that people would show up, especially you're going to have your regulars and then people that aren't going to work and have the day off and want to get it out of the way early. I can definitely see how your gyms especially would be pretty busy.
Mm-hmm.
And so Tony, I saw that you were on was it a Wheaties box or
Cheerios.
Cheerios. Okay, sorry.
Nice.
So explain that.
So cool. I love my job. Okay, so I work for a supermarket located, I'll just shout them out because they're just awesome. ShopRite supermarkets. They're only in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut. And ShopRite has partnered with General Mills for next year will be the 20th year, or technically this year would be the 20th year, to help raise money and awareness for the hungry, and we help feed our local communities. So I was in charge of, I actually championed more for healthy food to donate. So I really helped in with that. But to be honest, it was a complete group effort of everyone in the store. So basically what they do is ShopRite nominates the top 40 stores. So I think there's over 200 ShopRite supermarkets, but the top 40 stores that raise the most amount of money then nominate 2 people to appear on the Cheerios box, and it's like a special edition. And so my team nominated me to represent the team. And so me and another associate of mine got to be on the Cheerios box. So like you could literally go to ShopRite, buy Cheerios, and my face is on it. Like what?
How many of those boxes have you bought?
I bought 5. My mom's so funny. So I'm not even Irish, but every year she has like this huge St. Patrick's Day party. And basically she had a raffle where everyone had to guess how much did like the corned beef weigh or something. And the winner of that got to take my face home. They got to take a box of Cheerios home as the win for the raffle.
So are the boxes
my family's pretty pumped about it.
That's congratulations. Are they in other stores as well?
Just ShopRite supermarkets. Okay. Yeah, just ShopRite supermarkets. And I don't know if I believe they're in all of the ShopRites, just a limited edition. I don't know though. They might not be in I think they're in all of the ShopRite stores, but I think someone said they might not be in some of the stores. I'm not really sure. But it's a real Cheerios box.
Go out and buy that. Go out and buy the limited edition. Tips with Tony Cheerios box. They might be very valuable one day. You never know.
Over cellular, it's not quite Tips with Tony cereal box.
No, it's not Tips. It's no.
No, it's a Cheerio. It's a Cheerios Tony Marinucci box.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I like the Tips with Tony Cheerio box. I like the sound of that.
Hopefully that will be in the future.
Well, first of all, you guys have to make me into a character. Like how your logo, your character.
Ryan and I were just talking about that earlier today.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Yeah. We were talking about like how to configure the logo and what how to make the image work and everything.
Oh my God, you guys are the best.
Sorry, I've got my
your dog is. You guys can't see. We should be recording this. That was visual.
Yeah, she just won't stop.
Now we're all in our own apartment. And Ryan's
exactly.
being
the one
all kicked up by dog.
With my recording from home is that my dog does not want to leave me alone and seems to know whenever I'm recording. She's mostly left me alone. And then as soon as I started, like she's just sat next to me and she wants her attention. She's the most attention-starved dog ever. So anyway, I guess, so what do we have going on for today?
The survey, right?
Yes. Yeah, and our fan, who was nice enough to write in, Tyler, who is an undergraduate, asked us to do a survey. He even said, "Look, I think it would make for a good episode." And we looked at the questions. We're like, "Yeah, this does make for a great episode." So we are.
We always need content, so it gives us something to work with. So basically, I'll read the email from Tyler. Because it's really cool that people kind of involve us in their own lives. I think it's a really fun thing, and again, something that makes kind of doing this whole thing rewarding. But the email basically says, "Hey, or hello, my name is Tyler. I made the decision to get healthy and fit last year, and my wife and I decided to do it together. For me, a novice at the gym, I decided I needed to learn more about fitness and exercise. I found your podcast, and it has helped so much. We still have a ways to go, but we're trying to make long-lasting changes instead of following a fad workout. So that's okay. Through your podcast, I also found Tips with Tony, and I love her podcast and website also. You guys really helped me out. Although I'm still trying to catch up on all the episodes, I have heard most of them, and the more recent ones, of course. I'm an undergraduate majoring in biology at the University of Cincinnati, and I'm currently writing a paper about the role the internet plays in our health. I thought that because of your backgrounds in fitness, professionally and also as enthusiasts, as well as your use of the internet to educate the public about medicine and health, that you guys would have some experience in the interaction of these two subjects. I'd greatly appreciate it if you took the time to answer one page of questions that I have prepared as a survey as a means of research for my paper. Thanks so much for your time, and especially for the podcast." So we looked at the questions, and the questions are really interesting, and again, gives us something to talk about, and at the same time help out a graduate student. So I think it's a win-win.
Yes, Tyler,
definitely.
thanks for writing us these questions, and we're looking forward to answering them. So what's our first question?
Let's see. I will read it. So question 1, in your opinion, is the internet a public health threat? Why or why not?
Big question.
Mm-hmm.
Who wants
These
to
are
take
big.
the floor
There's like
first?
10 of them.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start. So
Okay, go.
the
Oh, sorry. Before you, I'm going to cut you off just for a second.
Sure.
So what I'll say, here's what we'll do for the format. One person will read, and the other two will answer the questions, and then we'll just kind of take turns with who reads and who answers. That way, we're not, because if all three of us answer every question, it might take a while.
It's going to take forever.
So, like, I'll stay out of this one, and you guys answer. Maybe if one of us has something to add, we can add it in, but otherwise, we'll just try to do it that way and make it a little bit more streamlined.
All right. So the short answer, I think, is no. That it's not a real public health threat. I think that there are elements of it that can certainly add to issues with people's health. But I think in the overall, I don't believe that it is an outright threat. Although I'll put the sort of the add-on to that is that whatever you read or things that you hear or services or products that may be peddled towards the viewer, reader, that please do your research. And that's also the other sides of the internet, is that there's a lot of information out there. If you do your research, you can eventually you find some pretty decent answers. So I don't believe that it is outright a public health threat, but I do believe that you need to be careful, and that any service or product or anything that people might be peddling, whether it's some sort of supplement or maybe even a medication, a drug, right? Please do your research. Tony?
Yeah. I actually responded to him, so I want to see what I wrote, because I don't want to say something that I didn't say, or I kind of want to be consistent, but I can't remember what I told him. Do I think it's a public health threat? It depends how someone uses it.
Yeah.
So I kind of think it is, to be honest. I think that it like any information, depending on how you translate it and utilize it in your life, it can potentially be threatening, and it is a $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Oh, you're talking about what being the $1 billion, like fitness, health, wellness?
Yeah, the diet industry is $1 billion industry annually.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely tremendous.
Yeah. So I think it's a little tricky question, because when we think about public, and again, I'm violating my own rule, but when you think of a public health threat, you're thinking of something that is mostly a negative thing that affects us. And so, like, you take like the opioid epidemic as an example, like that's a public health threat, and there's nothing good that comes from it. So it's pretty much all bad. So when we look at the internet, there is potential for harm, and in a number of ways, but it's an overall good. So I think it really a lot comes down to the meaning of the question. Are we looking at it? Is it an all bad? Because obviously not. But there are, especially with the, with fake news and being able to manipulate people through Facebook and through social media, and through all the misinformation that can be spread, it certainly can be problematic. So it really does, as Justin said, it really is incumbent on the user to make sure to verify their sources. Like, if you read something, and I try to always do this, is when I read something, especially if it's shocking or a surprise, or that has some value, because I try to go back and A, you want to see where's the source, and then B, you want to be able to verify it. So I think a big part of I guess the internet and what we're gonna see in the future is that our kids and our kids, when they grow up, they're going to have to learn how to navigate the internet and how to interact with it in a way that they're taking the most from it, and they're not, that they're not just taking things for face value. That you have to really learn how to use the internet to make the most out of it. So I think if we don't resolve that problem, sure, it could be a potential threat, but Yeah, a lot depends on how you really frame that initial question.
Right. So I know I'm gonna violate because I have an important answer to this, but I'll keep mine very short. I'm sure we're gonna violate. We're all gonna violate the rule.
Yeah.
Maybe just scrap that rule
just
to
throw
begin
the
with.
rule out. Yeah.
We're throwing the rule out.
Yeah,
Forget that. We've
the
already had
rule
question 2, and we're
doesn't
already
make
throwing the rule out. All right. So the second question is: does the internet hold any potential to be a tool that improves public health, healthcare, or fitness?
I say yes.
Okay.
The more that professionals in their field get involved in the internet, the more it can cause a positive
Okay.
influencers. As long as people stay within their scope of practice, which
Yes.
hopefully they all have a code of ethics, and they do that, then it can be a wonderful, powerful tool.
Yeah.
The reason why I was saying as a public health threat is because it's when people go out of their scope and don't utilize it to influence others in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so I definitely think it absolutely is a useful tool. I mean, when you think about what are some of the things that breed success and healthy lifestyles and positive health outcomes, and it's information or knowledge, which the internet obviously is a tool for that. If it's not misused, it's a social thing. So theoretic, potentially, being social. And interacting with other people who have shared goals and shared lifestyles, shared experiences, that's going to be a beneficial and useful thing for, again, positive outcomes. So, absolutely, just those two, be using the internet as a tool to get workouts or to get information. To learn things, to have questions answered. There are a whole number of potential uses for the internet as a tool for public health, healthcare, and fitness. So I absolutely think that that it can be. So that's where, when we go back to question 1, there's so much good that you can get out of the internet that you just have to be able to figure out how to use it properly, and then it really is a phenomenally great thing for us.
Well, and I think that leads to Tyler's next question is, please name 3 of the potential benefits that you see the internet has to offer. And I know that Ryan mentioned knowledge, and I think that's very important. Like a good example of that would be a website like WebMD. Before the internet, if you had symptoms, right, you might have to go to a doctor, you might have to look something up in an encyclopedia, or you might just think, you might not realize there was something wrong with you, and then you look at the website and say, I might be legitimately sick. I need to go see a professional in this field. And perhaps things like that really flew under the radar before there was an internet. I think another potential benefit that I don't know if you guys would even think about this is economically. If someone is searching for whether supplements or gyms to join, they workout plans, they now can see a lot of different options.
Podcasts.
We'll get there. We'll get there, of course, with the big benefit, right? So if someone is say, I need to join a gym, I need to join. What's the right one for me? Right now, they have a lot to choose from that they can really look to see what's the right program, which ones can I afford. So it offers options for people that are looking to improve their health as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will just say
connections.
Yeah,
Sorry.
absolutely. Oh, no, I was just going to say that the WebMD thing is also apparently the bane of some doctors' existence, because then people look up and their symptoms, look up the symptoms, and they think they have any number of diseases.
They diagnose it.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because on one hand, it is incredibly useful, a useful tool to figure out what's potentially wrong and either ease your mind or spur you to kind of go get something checked out. But at the same time, it does become a problem where if people are self-diagnosing.
Yes, and that's why I definitely put in the caveat when you see, maybe I am sick, and then you go see a professional afterwards. So remember, diagnosing yourself is not the best thing to do, right? But it could certainly lead to the right direction.
The negatives, like the not so great thing about the internet.
Yes, that's the next question.
What I was going to say is where it's the bane of some doctors' existence, at least from the doctors I've talked to, is that people will go in you kind of self-diagnose. They talk to the doctor. The doctor says, "Okay, well,
that's the next.
Ryan,
that's the next question. That's the next question. We'll get there. So that's the next point. Well, right. What's another potential benefit?
Tracking.
What's the most obvious one?
Well, the other one I was going to say is like logging and tracking information.
But not just any podcast, but
the GymWits podcast.
Yes, that's the potential benefit.
Yeah. No, but also, like I think you guys touched on the most important ones, which is just community information, and there's motivation can be found online too. Right.
So, I said that to him too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, all right.
Especially if you're but just because like especially if maybe people in your family or your current community that you physically exist in maybe aren't really into health and fitness, you don't really have the most reliable resources or the motivation or even an understanding of how to get started. Connecting with someone, if you live in New York, but you connect with someone in Florida, without the internet, how are you going to, other than the cell phone, but the internet's how you found them, like through Instagram or Facebook,
Sure.
That's, I think, really important too. You have that support system.
All right. Yeah. So what's our next question? Well,
name 3 potential risks that come with the internet to public health.
I think you mentioned a big one is people diagnosing their own conditions, right? Perhaps they're right, but you never know. So someone might say, I have these symptoms. I might not be sick. I don't need to go see a doctor, but maybe they are really sick.
Well, so the other thing, what I was going to say is, so there are 2 parts to this. One is the anxiety it causes because you may get somebody who goes to the doctor and the doctor tells them they have X, Y, and Z wrong, but they're convinced it's something else because the internet told them so. So you have that problem. But then there's just kind of angst and anxiety that comes with it. You might think you have something wrong with you because you read that that's a symptom of something, but it really isn't it. So I can see how there's that. There's the other part is, we have there are lots of people who use Instagram, and so you have a lot of like Instagram models and sometimes that type of thing, or just in general marketing, it promotes an unrealistic and often unhealthy ideal. So the problem that with public health is if you ask somebody to describe, let's say, the perfect body, or like what's the perfect, picture of health, it's not, most people are going to describe something that it's not, because we kind of have a skewed image of what's healthy and what kind of demonstrates proper health. So I think
media already does that. And when you have social media and the internet on top of that, it's like
when you're following some model or somebody who's doing these unrealistic workouts or who they're going to show you pictures of them look smiling and doing some crazy exercises, but they're not showing you the part where they're eating practically nothing and miserable and tired and hungry all the time and always kind of on the verge of dehydration and like starvation. Like they're not going to show you that part. So and it's just a general problem with social media, right? Like most of us post the best parts of our lives on Facebook, so it does cause a bit of envy and jealousy and frustration, because like I'm not showing people when I'm miserable or when money's an issue or when I had a shitty day.
How is that a potential? How is that a risk? How's that a health risk? It's a mental health risk.
It is absolutely a mental health risk, because, and there's studies that kind of bear this out, that people, it can be depressing being on social media if you see that all your friends and everyone seems to be having a great life, because we only show the great parts of our life. So it does potentially present a kind of a mental health risk. Because it's not the reality. The reality is we all have great days. We all have crappy days. But again, when we look on Facebook, I'm just seeing everybody happy. So if I'm somebody who maybe is struggling, or if I'm going through a rough patch, it can potentially kind of exacerbate that problem if all I see is, wow, why is everyone seems happy but me?
Yeah.
Very good point.
I think another risk that can come with the internet is products and services that might be scammy. And I know that Tony can attest to this. Any type of supplement, detox this. And when you're looking at a website, they're only showing you the good stuff, right? They're trying to sell a product. So you're getting a million gazillion products, fad workouts, all these things that are just going to suck up your money and potentially could be harmful as well. and not everyone is savvy. People don't know, right? And they don't know what a scam might be, or what something that might be not an effective diet, or something that's just a money grab. So these are all over the internet. And I think that that's an issue. So once again, do your research, but not everyone. Someone might be they get very clever with these marketing. They make them look like people on Facebook or Instagram are advertising these ideas. So it's like, oh, these are real people, but it's really just a marketing scheme from a company that may not be the most scrupulous.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with that too is sometimes people don't even really know what they're looking for. Yeah. So it's the person behind, the keyboard looking up things. They're not really even sure or clear what, they might find a diet that helps with, I don't know. This is I can't think of it, but they might not even really know what they're looking for. And then at the end of the day, what you do look up is general guidelines. And that's what people are lacking so much, is that individualized planning, that individualized care. That's why you meet with trainers. It's why you go to your doctor. It's why you meet with a dietitian. It's why you go to a therapist, because yes, there's general practices on how to help you. And although they might not be hurtful or harmful, they really might not be really getting down to what you really need, which is a one-on-one consultation. And although that general guideline might be helpful for someone else, it might not be for you. And that's where it can become a risk.
All right. So, all right, the next question we have, if any potential benefits were listed in question 2, do you think that the general public is receiving said benefits now? Why or why not? I think that I'll start that. I think that people are definitely getting some of the benefits. We have people writing in saying how we've helped them get in shape or start workout plans, start eating better. And we're just a microcosm. So there's other great podcasts, there's other blogs, there's other good sources of information that are helping people get back in shape. That's one benefit.
Yeah. And I think we do a good job educating people to go to a reliable resource. And I think the more that people do work within the scope and they're honest when they don't know the answer, and they tell people, I'm not 100% sure about this, but let me get someone who can help you. Those are all, the more that people work within their field and refer to more credible resources and then educate the person on how to find those resources, which I believe we're going to get to in a minute, then that's a benefit.
And you think that people are getting these benefits? You think it's actively helping people?
Absolutely. And I think that
the more they become educated, the more they're getting them.
Yeah, I mean, of the benefits of there's certainly people who rely on the social aspect of the internet to help with their fitness. Obviously, people are getting great information. As you mentioned, I think there just are some kind of nefarious characters out there who are going to health is a very delicate part for a lot of people, and it's a very my brain's not working right now. Why I'm not thinking of a very simple word.
It's dogma for some people.
Yeah, it's dogma for some people, and it's sensitive for many people, and it triggers something emotionally. So there are people that will take advantage of that. So I think that the positive is that you can get the information, but just like we said, you have to know how to look for the right information. And I think it was funny. I was listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast, Star Talk Radio, and he said something really interesting. He said, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase poorly, but it was basically along the lines of, if you take if I tell you something and you take that for what it's worth, then I failed, as my job. You failed in my job as an educator. Like, I should be able to kind of inspire you to seek out the information yourself. So, our job, we do give information, but we're also guiding people. We want to guide people in the right way. So if we say something, it shouldn't be, oh, well, the GymWits said, X, Y, and Z. That's it.
Good. That's a really good point.
The GymWits said X, Y, and Z.
Funny, we actually get into that. We actually get into that later question.
Yeah, I think there is another question that I definitely want to talk about that in a minute whenever we get to it.
Yeah, it's like the gym would say X, Y, Z. I trust them, but I'm also going to do some more research and try to verify, what they're telling me.
All right. So, all right, next question. Tony, you want to read this one?
We are at... What number is it?
We're at 6.
6?
6.
In your professional career or practice, are there any current use for the internet to better serve patients or clients? Any risk associated with the internet? And so, so this is what I was thinking about. So it has been absolutely wonderful to utilize the internet, as particularly my practice is an online counseling business. So, I work full time for, a supermarket, but when I come home from work, I sit down in front of my computer and I counsel people from all over different locations that they don't have to travel to me. I don't have to travel to them. I don't have to rent office space. And I can build my business and help other people better their health from in the comfort of my own home, and they can be in the comfort of their own home. So that part is absolutely wonderful. My blog is what I started in college, was to educate people and to be that reliable resource for them, so they don't have to go. They can sift through all that mumbo jumbo and noise in the internet, and they can just get their reliable resource. So that part is definitely how I use it as to better serve them when they ask me for topics to talk about. I do that, and I absolutely think that's where I use the internet to my advantage. But the risk associated with that is, like I was saying earlier, they're general recommendations, and the way that the person interprets what we're saying, sometimes it boggles my mind. I'll have people that have, I'm very thankful that they listened, and they'll tell me that they listened and they watched my videos or whatever it was. But then they say a comment that I'm just like, but that's not what I was saying. And then I question them, am I a poor educator, or are they not great listeners? What do I need to improve to, better my speaking skills? All these different aspects. So it can be a positive thing, but there are risks involved.
So you're saying that
how are people interpreting my work?
So Tony, you're saying that communication with your clients is not always as strong over the internet, even though we could be talking on a FaceTime or Skype. That for some reason,
even person to person though, but mostly over the internet. Well, so it's more related to when I do my live videos, my typical Tony Talk Tuesdays. They're very general, and I don't know where that person's at in their health and fitness journey. I'm giving just general recommendations and general advice. So a good example of that is the other day I did talk about the term natural and what natural means. And I talked about how, you can get a salad kit and it can label it natural with natural ingredients. And yes, the lettuce, the radishes, the cabbage, the cucumber, whatever vegetables are in there are natural, but the dressing packet inside has just a whole ton of crap. It's not natural at all. It's a lot of artificial stuff. And I was just talking about how to educate the people so that they know that when they look and read the labels, they know what to look for. And that person's interpretation was, oh no, I love salad kits. I can never eat a salad kit again. And I'm like, that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm saying that I just want you to be aware of it so that way and if you want to have a salad kit's probably better than your cheeseburger and french fries. So it's okay, but you need to then, maybe get your own dressing or make your own salad kit. There's just so many ways that people can interpret what I'm trying to say. And a lot of people really are looking for that black and white answer, but we know that's not there. Mm-hmm. There's so much gray. Sure. And that's where it can be, those are the potential risks. And sometimes, I want to sorry, I'm going on and on here. No, it's fine. But it's I can't take responsibility for everyone and their actions. And that's why I love individualized care. That's why I love my business where I'm helping people on a one-on-one basis, because I can work with them one-on-one. And if there is a misinterpretation, we can address it in our session.
So now, Ryan, you still do, I think, but you had a website for a long time that you would find clients through. You even had trainers working under you. How did you feel that worked, and did you feel that was a solid service to your clients? Yeah,
absolutely. I think it worked. It worked well for a while. I found that I liked training more than I liked running a business. So in the long run, it was something I didn't do, fully. But but yeah, no, I mean, obviously there's plenty of uses for the internet for patients and clients. There, like you mentioned, for acquiring clients, for tracking, for all kinds of like cloud computing. Think about that. Like, if I have a smartphone, right? So we all have smartphones now, and many of us use apps to do our workouts. And so if you didn't have the cloud, then it would eliminate a lot of like the, being able to use like MyFitnessPal or using different apps that you get, workout videos, because, our smartphones don't have the computing power to kind of handle what we can kind of acquire from the cloud. So little simple things like that really make our lives better. Having an Apple Watch for some people makes a huge difference. And, again, it's tethered to the internet. Another, one thing I'll go back to, which is both a positive and negative, is the access to information, which I've found with clients is obviously the access to information is great because you find all kinds of stuff, but is so much that much of the information is contradictory. And I find that as a professional, I'm sure you have this too, Tony, that you get people that will say one thing. It's like, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. No, that was misinterpreted. Nope, don't listen to that. That's BS. So while there is a lot of information, if you don't know how to navigate the information, it's very easy to stumble upon the wrong information. So I think it works both ways, where that, the kind of volume of information out there can just be overwhelming for people. And
and then they do nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
When they get overwhelmed, then they go nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. But also then there are like I started doing some work with Nerd Fitness, and they have like kind of an online coaching program, and so something like that does work, where if you have like with what you're doing, like if you can coach people online, it does for the professional. It increases your reach, because you can reach people in other countries, that you wouldn't be able to one-on-one. And as a potential client, it also gives you the opportunity to meet people at a lower cost. And also, let's say if you live in rural Pennsylvania, you may not be able to find a trainer, but if you go online, you may be able to find a professional that can help guide you to what you need.
That's sort of sauntering into the next question, which is, in what ways can the public use the internet to improve their health, fitness? Specific as well as general examples are welcome. And of course, you mentioned the first one. Not everyone can physically meet with someone, so being able, or maybe they don't like who's around, or maybe they have very limited options. Once again, if you live in Podunk, USA, or maybe a remote part of Siberia, and like you're looking to find a trainer, dietitian, anything of that nature, you might be very limited in your options, both mobility, maybe something's very far. But now when you have the internet, you can meet with trainers, right? You can have there are plenty at your disposal that you can choose and say, this one really works with me. Same thing with dietitians, same, coaches, anything of that nature.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to go completely off for a second. Like, I think this is, I don't even know whether this is a positive or anything, but just consider, if you don't have access to the internet, and specifically if you don't have access to high speed kind of broadband, you're really, at a disadvantage. So the internet has become so integral to our lives that whether it's good or bad, you kind of need it. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but I just felt the need to say that. So this question was, what ways can the internet, can the public use it? Yeah, you mentioned it. And I think there's, it's just using it to acquire the right information. There's so many studies that are out there that you can find the information to online, meeting friends, finding programs, finding trainers, finding success stories, gathering motivation. I mean, I think these are all
recipes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other?
There's so many websites where, like, if you want to make a dish with avocado, you could literally put in like avocado. If you have a food allergy, you can like make sure they filter out that allergen. So many great websites where they make it so easy for you. You can basically put in the ingredients that you have, and it'll create a dish for you.
I think another way, we sort of touched on this before, is to use it to benefit your, not to benefit your financial, but if you're looking to work out, to save money. Right? If you're right, there's a gym, there's only one or two gyms in your vicinity, and they're very expensive, and they're hard to get to, and right, you could find reasonable equipment online. Maybe you can have some things shipped to your house. Maybe you want to buy an all-in-one gym. You could search to find the best deal on one. right? You could find different videos that say, well, all you need is a couple dumbbells and a physio ball, and you do these great workouts. So there you have, instead of joining maybe an expensive gym or one that's far away, hard to get to, or maybe overspending because all that used to be available is like, oh, well, buy the Solo Flex, and all you had was an infomercial telling you, and you didn't know where to go to buy fitness equipment. Now you have plenty of options. Right, go on if you want a couple used dumbbells and a physio ball. Go on eBay, or Amazon. You're going to find something very reasonable, so you can save.
My books.
Yes, yeah. There you go. You can buy Ryan's books too.
I still never bought your book. Let me write that down. Wait, books plural? You have more than one book?
Yeah, there are two. Yeah, and it's funny. So somebody came up to me yesterday that takes one of my. She's been taking my class for a long time, and she runs up to me with the books. She's like, "Can you sign this and write something nice?" I'm like, "What am I supposed to write?" But that was fun.
Wait, Ryan, I have a recommendation. Can you make an audio? Audio book? Can you make your books into audio?
I don't know if they would work because so much of it is the extra. There are
little does Ryan know I've already recorded his books. I've already
have you?
I've already been the orator of Ryan's books. So
what?
So he doesn't
Are
know,
you
but it's being released very soon under audiobooks.
Right.
So, Ryan, I'm just telling you this now. Sorry.
Are you serious?
No.
No. Oh my gosh.
But I definitely, if Ryan does an audiobook, I want to be the person who reads it.
Okay, fine.
All right. So the next question is.
Wait.
I think one is
listeners. They're all gonna want to. I can't believe you haven't we don't shout this out every time because I think the fact that you wrote 2 books is
I'm a
pretty
terrible
cool.
salesman. So
okay,
one is,
what are the name of your books?
Free weight training anatomy, I think, is the first one, and then the other one is door frame pull-up bar workout. So one is like free, obviously pretty self-explanatory. One is like free weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, barbells, medicine balls, sandbags, stuff like that. And the other one is like basically a home workout that's based around pull-ups.
Pull-up.
And I'll include links to those in the show notes since I mentioned it. Now I can do it. It wasn't me. It was Tony.
What? Yeah. Oh my God. It's like when you guys shout out my podcast. I'm like, I get so excited. I would never do it.
All right.
All right. So we're up to question 8.
Yes.
Okay.
What's the question?
What is question 8? I'll read it. How can an individual with no medical training best determine if a given article or website is reliable as a source of health information?
That's a really good question. I guess how would you answer that, Tony?
I always tell people to look for the website should be .gov or .org because then it's like if you have heart disease, go to the American Heart Association.org. If you have diabetes, diabetes.org. If you have kidney problems, kidneyfoundation.org. Certain things, at least we know that there's enough government funding to help support the studies and you're going to get reliable resources.
Assuming that you're not a conspiracy theorist.
If you're not a conspiracy theorist, which I honestly am. This has been like a recent topic. I don't have time for that. I'm sorry. I don't I'm not a conspiracy theorist. So go to the reliable resource would be .gov or .org. And also but if it's just a general article that's written, like my website is www.tipswithtony.com. Obviously, I don't have a .org or, a .gov next to my website, but my credentials are MSRD. So if you're looking for a nutrition article, look for someone with the credentials RD next to their name, as in registered dietitian. If you're looking up for someone who's, a fitness trainer, make sure that they have maybe CPT next to their name, some sort of credentials related to the field. You don't want to have a doctor talking about nutrition, just like I'm not talking to you about how to, what you should do in regards to your upcoming heart surgery, unless it has nothing, if it's related to nutrition. I might give you general heart healthy guidelines for your nutrition or diet. And then if my name's next to it, that makes sense. But if I'm telling you to decide between, which surgery to get, and I'm a registered dietitian, that's not reliable.
So Tony, I want to piggyback on that, and I think that for the most part, checking credentials, checking the sources, but I think there is some concern with that because as we've seen, there are doctors, there are dietitians that have agendas. right? So, like, for instance, there's a little common sense with it because, right, there's plenty of doctors, right, that'll say, oh, you know, you must be vegan or else you're going to die of heart disease. And we know that, well, there may be some validity to it, but maybe it's very individual. So be wary with that. I do agree on the credentials. Be wary of agendas. If something sounds like there's an agenda, and one more thing, then Ryan, you take the floor. I think that, as we always say, as far as an article or anything that you read, you really need to go see a professional, a doctor, whatever it is, personally, right? So an article can say something, but at the end of the day, it's always about the individual. You need to go see the best practitioner in that field and have yourself personally checked. That's always the best answer for me, for my money at least.
So I think this is one of those things that's going to have to be taught to, like, again, our kids and our kids' kids are going to learn how to do this, because this is not I feel like this isn't an easy question to answer.
No, it's not.
But I think there are a couple of things that you can flag when you're reading an article. So like as Tony said, like a .gov.org is going to have a little bit higher chance of being real. You want to check, does the article have facts that can be actually verified, and then go and verify the facts. So just looking at it, like, is it telling you stuff? Is it giving you things that you can actually check, or is it kind of
right? Does it give you sources?
Or is it just making stuff up? I think you definitely, like as you said, Justin, like you have to listen for if there is an agenda. Like, is it written from the angle of like trying to sell you something, or is it not? And and there's some misleading and weird kind of sketchy practices by some businesses, but you definitely want to check for that. You want to check that it's kind of a balanced, it's balanced, that it's giving you all the information, it's giving you all the sides. I think this is sometimes maybe more when you're dealing with like even like politics, but that you're getting kind of a it's like, for example, take like climate change, right? So I think we're on the side of, climate change is inarguably happening. But if I'm going to write an article on climate change, or I'm reading an article, I don't want the article to just attack people who don't believe in it and kind of call them stupid. I still want the article to be rooted in science. So it's not that you have to like give equal time necessarily to the people who deny it, but you definitely want to at least, you want to present it in a way that, look, here are the facts, and we're telling it from the angle of science, and not from the angle of like, this is our agenda, this is what we believe. I think that again, there should be real sources. So anecdotes, if when we're talking amongst each other, from giving, sometimes we use an anecdote to color a problem, but the reality is, if I'm trying to present something as a fact, a personal anecdote isn't enough. So you also want to be careful of someone who says, how to lose 50 pounds in a week. This is what I did. And then they tell you their story, because that's not going to apply to you. It's not scientific. So you also want to be aware of people that are using personal anecdotes to try to push whatever their agenda is. I think there are plenty other things to look for, whether it's kind of the website, what their agenda might be, look at the author. Has the author written other articles? Are they promoting some kind of a brand? Like, maybe they wrote a great article on the benefits of kale, but then you find out that they're being paid millions and millions of dollars from the kale industry. Then maybe you want to go look at somebody else for the answers to that. So just there are all kinds of there are lots of skills that I think do need to be taught to people. Some of us get it intuitively. Like, I'd like to think that I do kind of intuitively understand how to search for things, but I'm also prone to misreading or misunderstanding.
Things prey off of your emotions as well, right? Especially for things that are politically, morally, socially driven, such as climate change, veganism, that nature. Abortion, like things like that. If you're reading up on an article like that, and I know some of them what I mentioned may not necessarily be health or fitness related, depending on where you stand in that debate, what you read might be, it might ring true with you because you believe that, and that can be dangerous, because you're going to, I remember we mentioned this, that things that sound good to you will often ring as true, but that is not always the case.
Yeah, we're always looking to confirm our biases. So it's really, we will always take an article that confirms our biases, at face value over something that doesn't. And I think that's something I try to do as well. It's like when I read something and often it happens where like I'll see something, like you guys know, I'm very politically liberal. But sometimes I'll see things that look, okay, well, that's really out there. And instead of just taking it, I'll actually look at the article and see that, oh, wait, whatever so-and-so did, okay, maybe this time it wasn't as bad as some of the other times. And so you kind of have to do that. Otherwise, you'll read a headline and then take that and then you don't have all the facts. So I think it's really important that no matter what you believe, that even if something confirms your biases, that you've got to still go back and make sure that it's being presented honestly. Otherwise, it just reinforces kind of the problems that we already have when it comes to the internet and kind of navigating society.
And for what it's worth, Ryan, you're not that liberal. Like you're believe me, you're not. There's liberal.
Okay, no, I'm not extreme, but I'm reasonable. Yeah, so I think that you're gonna, if you look at where I stand, politically and economically and philosophically, it's gonna always kind of not always. Like I'm pro capital punishment, but also with certain caveats. But I'm mostly politically liberal. I'm just not an extremist, and I'm reasonable. So I'm willing to engage in discourse, and I can understand where people come from. You know what I mean?
It's tough to say what
you're
what
the
is
same way.
What is what is extreme? It's hard. It's hard to quantify what is extremely liberal. What is extreme? I think you could. I guess extremes maybe are a little bit easier.
You can see it when it's there.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tell extremes.
And I think that it's easy to tell extremes, but I think there's a and we're going so off topic.
Yeah,
there's people that are leaning, that are left leaning or right leaning, and there's a big gap between that and extreme, right? There's a big sort of middle area where there's people that, all right, I'm generally conservative, but I believe this, right? But then you go people that are very conservative or very liberal. So, right. Well, that's just a side thing. I don't think that Ryan is. He said he was very liberal. I don't think he's quite that liberal, but he's fairly liberal.
I guess it depends.
I would say you're liberal leaning.
It's kind of means to the it's kind of mean. I guess it depends, because some of it has to do with like what are the outcomes, like what do you intend on the results to be, and how you go about it.
So off topic right now.
We're all on the same. A lot of us are on the same page as far as the outcomes we want. It just is a matter of how we go about achieving that outcome. So I think it then it becomes we muddy the waters a bit when we talk about how we get there, because I do think that with all with how kind of venomous and violent the kind of political discourse can be, I think often we do want the same end. It's just we all kind of are disagreeing on how to get there. But yeah, no, I think, let's go back to the questions.
Okay, all right. Question. All right, question 9. Are there any mobile devices, apps, website, blogs, or other internet-driven means in particular that you would feel comfortable recommending to a client patient as a means of education, instruction, or assistance in any way relating to their overall health? Please list any specifically. GymWits podcast, the GymWits app, the Tips with Tony podcast, Tips with Tony website, GymWits.com.
Even though so that's funny. I did shout them out a while ago. So even though I work there, it's Nerd Fitness is also a great resource. My Fitness Pal is useful. There's Fitness Buddy is an app. I mean, we're inundated with apps and things that you can potentially use to kind of enhance your fitness and help you with your fitness goals. So I mean, there's any number of things. Anything, Tony, that you can think of that we didn't mention?
There's one. It's called Lose It, for people who are trying to lose weight, and they're great because they have a community within the app as well. So you're welcome. You can and I'm sure, I think with MyFitnessPal, if you upgrade, you can do the same thing. But with Lose It for free, you get like a community of people to kind of motivate you to keep you on track if you choose to use that aspect.
Yep.
But it's like a food tracking system, and just like MyFitnessPal.
Trackers are good. I would recommend, I don't know if you mentioned this, any sort of timer clock where you can record your sort of results. So, like if you're doing intervals, right, you could sort of record.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So you could see like if an interval trainer, for instance, so you could show how many you've done here, and you can sort of record it keeps your progress. I don't know if that's how much web driven that is. But it's related. I think that's something that's good to have for everyone.
Or even
that's
something to just like track your miles for long runs.
The step tracker, those types of things are nice.
Yeah. How many steps do you take?
Also, another website I love is obviously you mentioned what was the medical website? Why am I'm having a brain freeze right now?
WebMD.
WebMD is useful for some things. I love Science Daily. It kind of aggregates a lot of the interesting science articles. Often, like the interesting studies I find, or I'll find through Science Daily or through the daily emails I get from them. But I think that's a great website if you just want to kind of keep up on and it has any science. So it's I just tend to focus on the health and fitness sections, but anything out there is a really useful resource to see kind of the bleeding edge science that's going on right now in the world, but also especially in the world of health and fitness.
Yeah. Right. ChooseMyPlate.gov is good for nutrition.
Nice.
Looking for a website.
What do we have? What's our next question?
The papers I am writing are about the internet, the effect it has on the patient-physician relations, the access it provides to information regarding health, the reliability of such information, the way the internet should be used by the public specifically to better public health, etc. These and many more such statements are potential topics to be addressed in my papers. Apart from a variety of articles from peer-reviewed journals, I'm seeking the help of various professionals such as yourself from a variety of professions regarding health, healthcare, and fitness. If there's any additional information, opinions, anecdotes, or other sources which may be of assistance or which you feel to be important, I would greatly appreciate such input. Wow, I went through all that reading for not really a question. So is there anything you guys can add that we haven't talked about?
Well, I told him, just knowing going back to school when I was doing all my research, that if he's not already using Google Scholar, to use Google Scholar. Because that's like I think the best way to like find relative research articles related to the topic. So if you're looking about like how internet affects public health, just put that into Google Scholar, and he should be able to find some stuff.
Anything you can think of, Justin?
I actually I tend to I'm not going to mention one, but for looking up doctors, I like to look at Health Grades is one of them. Now, I know that it's kind of just like a Yelp, and that you have to be very careful with reviews, so I like to look at as many different doctor reviews as possible. So with reviews, which is something that we didn't get into, but you have to be very careful about because people will leave bad reviews, right? People will leave good reviews. You never know whether it's bots are doing or people have their friends write it. So I think that to mention, use your when using the reviews such as Health Grades. There's some other doctor Yelp type things, even Yelp. Just check out as many of them as possible. Even just do a search for doctor reviews. Check out as many of them as you can. Right, especially if you're looking for a good doctor or a good dietitian or whatever it is. I think that's a good way to use it. Really, don't read 3 or 4 reviews and make your decision. Read a lot of them. Read them from different, because believe it or not, you can sometimes Yelp will say one thing. What's another big review company? Amazon will say it. Like I've seen something.
You can review Google. You can Google My Business has reviews now too.
Sure, even Google. Yeah. So
there's reviews on Facebook pages.
Facebook. I've seen one. I've seen one service that have great reviews and one that doesn't. So just really check out, really average out the reviews and really sort of sift through them with a fine-tooth comb. But I think it is important to read reviews. So
what I do. I often, when I look at reviews, like I was just doing this because I'm going on vacation a little bit and I was trying to pick some tours. And So what I like to do is like I always go for the worst reviews, first, because you kind of like I kind of dismiss the absolute best. I dismiss some of the absolute worst, but I do look at the worst to see what their complaints were and if they're common. Like some people will say, like there was one review I was looking at. It was like 1 star, like worst trip ever. They never showed up to pick us up for our day trip, and so it's like, okay, well that's pretty bad. But then if you look at the response, it was because the people on the trip showed up really, really late. And so they had left because they weren't going to, if you have a tour with 30 people, you're not going to wait for 2 people for an hour. So, so you kind of have to look like, why was somebody upset? Is it benign reasons? Like the food was just mediocre and then they leave a 2-star review. It's like you have a tour to go to, Fuji Mountain and you're giving it a 2-star review because your little rest stop lunch was not great, then that's a little silly. So I think part of it is also like, not only looking at the stars, but like, okay, what are people complaining about? Like, for some, it's like, I don't care about bedside manner. So like if there's a doctor that's amazing at what they do and someone leaves a bad review because of their bedside manner, it's like, whatever, I don't really care. I just want them to be good at what they do, versus some people who love the customer service and need that. So I think it's important also, when you're looking at reviews, is like, look at what the people are saying, because that will kind of give you some insight into, what's consistent. If someone says, she was really nasty, but nobody else says that, then maybe it was more that person, having a bad day or misreading something, versus like, that being a real trait of that person. So
it's true, because I was reading a review once of a podcast and the person was complaining because the people on the podcast mentioned vegan gummy worms. It's like, is that really a reason why to give a negative review?
Good one.
All right, Tyler. I hope that I hope that this helps you with your project, with your papers. We appreciate you writing in. We love the questions. I think it was great stuff. I wish we had thought of this podcast idea ourselves, but
if you have ideas for us, then send us an email at GymWits@gmail.com.
Yeah, allow us to take full credit for it.
Yes. But anyway, well, I guess that's it. So as usual, all of our stuff is at thegymwits.com. You can find all of our social media. Definitely, again, listen to the Tips with Tony podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to that. And survey.lispin.com. It's in the show notes, but if you could take 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes, to fill out a quick survey, it'll help us out a lot. And that's it. I'm Ryan George.
I'm Justin Guild, a.k.a. Chef Sonic, reminding you that truth does not sell.
I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian.
A.k.a. Tips with Tony.
A.k.a. You know what? Now I'm doing the podcast. I always end with helping you get healthy one bite at a time. And I almost said that. But I'm like, wait, no, it's the wrong podcast.
You could say that. You could say that.
Look, you have a tagline. It's my tagline.
Yeah, you could say your tagline. I love the tagline.
This is Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, a.k.a. Tips with Tony, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.
And we are
the GymWits.